Let's go to the Western Cape, where at least 11 people have lost their lives after several days of heavy rains, gale-force winds and flooding. Authorities say 3 people died as a result of flooding in the Theewaterskloof municipal area. Earlier, the city of Cape Town confirmed that 8 people, including 4 children, had passed away in separate incidents after being electrocuted during inclement weather conditions. Heavy rain and gale-force winds have lashed the Western Cape since Sunday, causing widespread disruption. Municipal Manager Wilfred Solomons Johannes says the N2 at Bot River remains and all other connecting routes in and out of Cape Town. Let's get more on this with SABC News reporter Vanessa Puna. A very good afternoon to you, Vanessa. Just horrific scenes coming out of the Western Cape. Devastation everywhere. Tell us where you are and what's happening.
Nzinga, good afternoon to you. And at the moment we are in Pass village. Of course, this one of the several that has been severely affected by the gale-force winds as well as heavy downpours that we experienced in the Cape over the past few days. I can tell you that the roads literally resemble rivers at this point in time. And I'm going to bring in now the MACO member for Human Settlements, Carl Papheim, to explain to us exactly what's happening on the ground. We know that City of Cape Town and other disaster relief officials are out on the ground to make assessments of damaged roads to homes as well as infrastructure. A very warm good afternoon to you, MMC Carl Papheim. Pass village at the moment, just one of the areas which have been heavily affected. I see that you are with the ward council. We'll get some more information about that. But sadly, 8 people died in the city of Cape Town over the past day, and that of course due to electrocution. Explain to us what had taken place in those circumstances.
Yes, no, thanks Vanessa, and thanks for having me. I'm here with Councillor McFarlane, who's the ward councillor for the area. I've just come from Kliplevel and RR section in Khayelitsha. As you can see, emotions are high. These are unprecedented times, and our level warnings for this weather show that. What's important is that the city has been on the ground. Disaster risk management has been here since we've got the weather alert from the SABC. We've had our councillor with our officials, with the community, trying to avert the crisis, but it's been very difficult. You'll see behind me, we still see water gushing. It was much worse yesterday. It resembled more like a river, but we were able to mitigate and subdue it in order for our teams to come in and actually do enumeration in the informal settlement with the community. Very, very tragic situation, having the electrocution of these residents, 8 specific in Driftsand and other. These were Eskom supply areas, and I have immediately triaged with my team in informal settlement management to alert Eskom with our energy directorate to say you need to get out to secure these lines. And we're operating in legislative spaces where it's difficult for the city to work on areas that isn't within our control. But I've said to the team, we need to push the boundary because we cannot have these safety risks for our communities. In terms of relief, what's very concerning for me is that the response time from SASA has been dismal. We've had our teams out on the ground engaging these residents, getting their data, collecting the information, and we've seen no turnaround time from SASA. And it really speaks to the conversation that you need to decentralize down to municipalities that are competent in order to deliver soft relief as well as hard relief.
Now, we know that quite a number of agencies, for example, the Gifter, the Givers, the Angels Network, etc., are all offering assistance. Talk to us in terms of what kind of assessments you have been able to do thus far within the city of Cape Town. I know that it's not just informal settlements, but also formal dwellings and structures that have suffered damage. Give us a sort of sense of what has happened overnight.
Yes, no, certainly. From here I'm going to Samora Michelle, where we have extreme flooding, but that's in a formal area, not informal settlements, but we need to be there on the ground. We do have our teams coordinating with civil society. Gift of the Givers has been on the ground. They've been sitting across the board, particularly in Khayelitsha as well as Pass, to make sure we get soft relief to our communities. And that has been what is essential. We're also pushing very hard with the National Department of Human Settlements to get starter kits out to those locations where we've seen structures completely destroyed. Our ward council with our local teams have taken about 35 destitute families within this very community to our community hall to house them, to make sure they receive the relief that's necessary while we're busy clearing the settlement and putting up new structures for the community.
Any road closures still in place? Because we understand that the N2 at Pass was closed earlier, but I see that it has since been reopened. Can you talk to us a bit about areas that still remain cut off at this time?
I think largely exiting the city and entering the city. In our nodes in terms of Salaris Pass, the Cape Winelands route, but mostly it has been reopened because we were able to mitigate our flooding within the areas, but we're asking communities to proceed with caution in order to commute in and out of the city.
It's going to be a difficult task cleaning up operations. What kind of intervention can we see for today and over the next few days?
Well, it varies from area to area. Right now, we're still trying to mitigate the effects of the riverbank. We've seen it's been limited very much so. We've seen a decrease, but we are still focusing on that. We are getting out DRM to enumerate with informal settlements management so that we can expedite with SASA. I've been engaging our social development department to make sure we go directly to head office to say we are in an emergency situation. We cannot have 72-hour to 1 week turnaround times. By that time, the sun has been out and dried everything up. So we are working very hard, but I think Vanessa, what's critical is what this situation has showed us once again is that National needs to decentralize the service back to the city of Cape Town so that we can have the immediate response like we are doing currently. It's very difficult, and you can see from the community right now to sit here only to do engineering services but have no soft relief. So we're working very hard with our national counterparts to decentralize that.
Human Settlements MMC, thank you very much for speaking to me. Of course, there, Carl Popheim. We're coming to you, Nzinga, from the Salaris Pass village, where just around us you can see that tensions are quite high, with community members really saying that they have been waiting for assistance and that assistance has not come to them. We've seen children playing in the water, drifting behind us, and of course angry community members, understandably so, because many of them have not had access to any sort of humanitarian assistance at this point in time, and of course the situation really not conducive at this moment in time, but we will keep you updated as we visit various other areas that have been affected by the storm damage over the past few days.